This week from GNC Week in Review, powered by GeekNewsCentral.com. T-Mobile adds millions of customers. Apple's App Store made billions of dollars, and an early preview of what's coming to CES 2021. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week, and it's Friday, January 8th, 2021. My name is Kirk Corliss.
And I'm Scott Ertz.
And it's episode 80 of the GNC Week in Review podcast, proud partner of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are streaming live at gncweekly.com/live, as well as Facebook Live. So please be sure to say hello and chat or comment. Also be sure to like and subscribe to the GNC WIR channel on YouTube. If you miss a live video, that's okay. You can always catch the replay later. If you are a listener, please be sure to subscribe to podcasts we can find on the right-hand side column at gncweekly.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Also, this podcast can be found on the Pandora app and the iHeartRadio app. If you have a comment, be it on social media or email, and then all links can be found at gncweekly.com. Excuse me, for gncweekly.com, as I lose my voice. gncweekly.com/connect. First episode of the new year. Happy New Year to everybody.
Indeed.
We took a 2-week break with the holidays and New Year's, and lots been going on. Been a quiet, well, I wouldn't say quiet because we're not going to talk about it because because a lot happened in the first few days of the new year.
Yes.
And
welcome to December 39th, 2020.
Right.
For so many reasons.
Exactly.
Not the least of which is that for us, the new year usually starts with CES, like mentally.
Right.
And so it still doesn't feel like it's a new year yet because we're not in Vegas. And since we're not going to be, it's never going to feel like a new year. It's just
right.
It's going to be more 2020.
More 2020. And I think, I mentioned to Todd when I was working on the show, I asked him, can we get a do-over?
Right.
So there's not a lot of news. It's a lot of tech news this week.
Everybody's holding it for next week.
Right, exactly. So there's a little bit of news that we're just going to go over very briefly. And also we'll be talking, we'll go over what's going to happen for this upcoming week with the Tech Podcast Network, along with Plug Us Live, is going to do a live streaming coverage during the week. So we'll fill everybody in on that in a little bit. In the meantime, there's a little bit of CES news, not much, but we're going to get in some other news that made the top news this week. And first up,
not the one that anybody's thinking about, because we don't want to get into that. That is a minefield that we're not interested in.
Exactly. So you can go online, you can Google it and what have you, and form your own opinion. So yeah, this is not the space for it, but. All right. So the top stories of this week is first up, T-Mobile has announced adding 5.6 million net customers during 2020. T-Mobile revealed its preliminary full year results. They say that's the most customers added in the carrier's history. Mike Sievert, T-Mobile CEO, says, quote, "Our focus on bringing unmatched value and experience to customers while building and delivering the nation's best 5G network paid off with record-breaking results in 2020. Our 5G leadership position is getting stronger every day." T-Mobile said its, quote, ultra-capacity 5G network now reaches 106 million people. According to T-Mobile, this is 50 times more than Verizon's 5G coverage, although the carriers use different radio waves for their 5G networks. And speaking of Verizon, they're going to have their keynote on Monday about 5G. But this is good news for T-Mobile. I mean, they've been, they had the merger.
I was going to say, it's important to remember that this does not include the merger,
right?
Because at close of business, the last day under the Sprint, the official Sprint brand, I think it was 54.9 million customers on Sprint. So obviously, this does not reflect any of that. This is This is simply new signups. So that's impressive. I'm curious on the details of it. Because obviously I'm curious prepay versus postpay. Because obviously prepay has higher churn, so postpay is better customers to bring in. And I'm curious about some stuff like that. But either way, that represents 1.4 ish % of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
So I mean that's impressive.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, there's people like me that skew those numbers, right? Because I've got multiple active lines. So it's not necessarily 1-to-1.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that represents, if it were 1-to-1, that represents about 1.35, 1.4% of the US population coming on as new subscribers. That's impressive growth.
But also the T-Mobile's approach is, I mean, with talk about 5G over the past over the past few months, T-Mobile is not really they're putting commercials out about touting 5G, but they're basically holding back on their claims. I mean, if you call them claims,
they're gun shy from 4G.
Exactly.
They spent like a whole year lying about having 4G.
Yep.
And they kept getting called out on it. And so now they're gun shy. And so AT&T decided to do it this time.
Right. And they got, look what happened.
Yeah, they got called out on it and they had to retract those claims. T-Mobile never retracted it, by the way.
No, they didn't. But I noticed over the past few months from, I would say, back in the Sprint merger, it was actually sometime last year where they had to go through the FCC and the DOJ and, but they've been hard pressed to get things done right and good on them. But when it's with the talk of 5G over the past few months, they're really kind of like, they've been putting things out there. The commercial I've seen, about, on the 5G spectrum and but they've been kind of low key. So I'm happy that they're good on them. I mean, I wish I had, again, there isn't 5G near me. So
I will tell you, I was surprised when a company sent me a new device. I was surprised to find out that sitting here in the studio, I actually get 5G. No, it's not AT&T. It's not a lie of the number. It's actual 5G. And on the Sprint / T-Mobile network.
Right.
I get it sitting literally right here where I am, which works out well because I can't get my own Wi-Fi in the studio. So, sometimes I have to switch over to the 5G. And I was shocked to find that, although in fairness, we were the first of 3 test markets for Sprint 4G. So I guess maybe not that surprising. It was us, LA, and Las Vegas, because the monorails were all yellow. Ooh, it was crazy.
And we go back and full circle CES.
That would have been, I guess I was there like April of 2005 ish, May. When did Corey get married? I don't know. So like May of 2005, and the monorails were all bright yellow.
Oh, okay. Sprint. Okay. And I'm thinking yellow. What the hell? Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. They had just changed their logo because they had just bought Nextel. So they were making a big deal about the new logo. Right. And they had just launched WiMAX and they were making a big deal about that. So the monorails were all bright yellow. It was so weird.
Yikes.
I've actually got a Sprint WiMAX banner up in my office just as a reminder that even the big guys make stupid mistakes.
Oh boy. All right. Well, let's dive into other news. Another milestone. Apple has announced that the App Store customers spent a record amount throughout the holiday season. Apple says that in total, the App Store has generated more than $200 billion for developers since the App Store launched in 2008.
I would like to amend that to publishers and not developers.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Apple says that Apple's App Store customers spent $1.8 billion on digital goods and services over the week between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. On New Year's Day, Apple says the customers spent a record $540 million in the App Store. Eddie Q, Apple's Senior Vice President of Internet Software and Services, says, quote, now more than ever, customers around the world have found inspiration and value in the breadth and quality of Apple services, which have impacted their lives in big and small ways every day. We're incredibly optimistic about where we're headed, and we believe that the opportunities to developers and the creative communities are endless, as are the positive and meaningful benefits to our customers. So,
once again, I have some questions. I would be curious. I would be curious to know how much of that was on Apple stuff and how much of that is on third-party stuff. Because 540 million or 1.8 billion, a lot of that could be, the new services that just launched, right? Because they've got the new Apple One Apple. I don't know. Apple One.
Apple One. Yep.
Subscription plans
Bundle,
and stuff like that. So,
right.
I'd be curious to know how much of that is Apple, and I'm not counting the 30% Apple tax, just flat out how much of that is to Apple services and how much of that is the third party services, because they start right, like the beginning of his quote is the breadth and quality of Apple's services, which suggests to me that it's a big chunk of that 540.
Yeah, and also they've been really making waves across the making waves with them acquiring, which my wife, God bless her heart, and me disappointed that the Peanuts Christmas special and Halloween special is on Apple TV Plus and not on ABC like they have been for 20 plus years. So I guess they're really.
In fairness, they made them free to everybody. You didn't have to be a subscriber, but.
True.
But you had to have a device that was capable of Apple TV.
Right.
Now, we've talked about it a lot when it comes to HBO Max. A lot of people have it.
Right.
Like this TV sitting next to me. And may not know it. They may not know that Apple TV is available on Roku. Right?
Right. Speaking of Roku a little bit later.
Are we going to talk about their acquisition?
No, actually it was a different Roku story, but it's more on their
we're going to talk about their acquisition while we're in there.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, limiting stuff like that, classics to a certain platform is always a little weird. But I mean, Sesame Street, right? Somehow now has a deal with HBO Max, which is totally inappropriate. And maybe it's not Sesame Street. Maybe it's Jim Henson as a whole. I mean, it might be bigger than just that. It might be Jim Henson as a whole. I can't remember where the contract lies. So it might not just be Children's Television Workshop and Jim Henson. It might be all Jim Henson stuff. I can't remember.
I think it's from what I understand, from what I saw. I believe it's not really it is Henson's production arm because it's Henson's arm, not necessarily
it's bigger than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's bigger than just Sesame Street. There's more than just Sesame Street that's part of that deal. And that's a little weird too, but yeah.
Well, the reason why, from what I understand, the reason why it was on PBS was because they got so much flack from people, because before there was no mention on PBS, but then I was watching keeping an eye on the news, and there was people upset. But then I think a few days later, they relented on PBS.
Well,
What I
they had to, because Children's Television Workshop is publicly funded.
exactly right.
They could not legally not have it on PBS, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, Apple had an uphill battle to fight, right? When they started Plus. They had a lot of and yeah, if we're not gonna, if we're not gonna talk about this in Roku, we'll talk about it now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
We've seen a lot of companies come into the space, and a lot of companies have struggled, right? HBO Max has struggled to find footing. They've found some clever ways to try and fight it, and clever can be sinister, but they found some clever ways to fight it. And then there's, of course, our favorite company to joke about was Quibi,
right?
That tried to get creative and theoretically went the way of the dodo, except Roku purchased Quibi's content today.
Right. Yep.
So all of that is going to be coming to the Roku platform, which once again, a lot of people have it, sometimes accidentally, which is the case here.
Yep.
It annoys me to no end that it's on this thing. But yeah, so Apple was going into an already crowded space that has gotten more crowded since. And so they had to do certain things. They had to be super aggressive to take that unbelievable amount of cash that they are sitting on and be super aggressive with it. And they have been, oftentimes to the annoyance of people like with Charlie Brown.
Right. Yeah, that was the one thing, because my wife must have, she was like ranting and raving and super pissed, and I explained to her, that Apple bought the rights to it, and she did make a good point, that said no one knows their PBS channel. To be honest, I don't even know what channel our PBS channel is, and I don't know what local will have to do on the guide. It doesn't see, but it's all about money. Apple's got the money.
I know my PBS channel.
Oh, you do really?
It's 3.
That's
yeah. It's
okay.
It's like New York 1, right?
Okay. Right.
I don't live in New York.
Right.
I know what New York 1 is.
Yep.
When it's something, and here 1 and 2 aren't things.
Right.
So 3 is our lowest number. So it's kind of our equivalent of New York 1. It is our lowest number on the dial, and kind of everybody knows it. Okay. If it wasn't for that, no, I'd have no idea. Okay,
there you go. Yeah, because I don't know. I can't remember. I know it was on channel. I know for here in New Jersey, it was 52, and then they went defunct, and then another company bought them out, and that got defunct. And now I don't know what. Now I have no idea what channel they're on PBS here in Jersey is. So,
okay, here. It's literally like the call sign is literally WPBS.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah, and it's 3.
It's 3.
So, and it's been that way my whole life. Nothing has changed. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. Enough of PBS, because we're going to be debating our channel lineup. All right. So other news, a little bit of CES news. It's not much, because a lot of companies the past week or so, a lot of them are under embargo. So nothing there's nothing to be reported on. The news is like really, really light. So for example, Samsung has some things that are announcing. They're announcing a mobile app called EasyCal that calibrates your TV's picture quality. There's a scan and drive. It's an IoT device that classifies fabric and recommends care options. They're also backing some startups, which I'm really disappointed because I love to see Eureka Park, which that's a whole other story. There's also introducing the Frame as a TV set that, from what Engadget reporting, it looks like it's it's for pictures for artists. Not much there. Sharp.
The Samsung Frame
Yes.
is the TV that looks like a picture frame.
Okay, that's what they're saying. It as.
Yeah. So it hangs on the wall, and when it's off, it kind of looks like art instead of technology, which is a nice variation.
Okay.
It's a cool product.
Okay. Well, when I saw that, I'm like, okay. Sharp is introducing a suite of new smart kitchen appliances. They offer Wi-Fi connectivity and Alexa voice compatibility. LG is coming out with the Cord Zero ThinQ A9 compressor plus. Again, with some of these product names.
So LG has this thing where they'll give something a brand name, and then they have brand names for certain features, like it's pronounced all kinds of different ways. I have no idea what the official pronunciation is. I've heard it said ThinQ. I've heard it pronounced Think. I have no idea, which is their AI platform. So they feel the need to force that into the name. And then there's a model number, I guess, A9. And then, we'll throw some German in there too, just because with the compressor with a K plus. And all of this is to say it's a vacuum.
Exactly.
That's way too many words to say Roomba.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, I just this is the light stuff, because a lot of things have been announced and won't announce until Monday's press day. So a lot of this stuff is not going to be announced, because again, when I'm working on our show, doing the prep and everything, I'm trying to pull stories, and I'm like, it's very light, again, excluding name not being mentioned. It's like, so they're anticipating for example, for TVs, Samsung and Sony is announcing micro LED TVs.
Yeah. Which we saw TCL talk about at the press conference last year.
Right.
And in fairness, Samsung, Sony, LG all talked about it too, but none of them were ready to hit the market yet.
Right.
Other than the TCL that has 8 models out right now. I think my brother purchased one. But yeah, I think that's going to be that's the next jump up from OLED, right? Is the micro LED, and I think that's going to be a big TV thing this year. Hopefully, it won't be like 3D TV and be a terrible idea. I can't imagine that it would be that way, but anytime there's some new technology with TVs, it can either be OLED or it can be 3D / quantum dot, and people will forget that it existed.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be, from what I'm seeing, I haven't seen anything. Nothing's come out yet, but it should be interesting what these companies are going to announce. Also, what are expected, laptops, PCs, Dell's coming out, Lenovo, HP, Asus, Acer. Dell, they already announced their new Latitude 9420 and 9520. LG is announcing new thin and light Gram laptops. Lenovo is releasing a couple new high-end laptops. So not really.
Somebody sent me an email, and I don't know if I can talk about it because I don't know where it is. So I'm not going to,
No,
just to
don't.
be safe.
Yeah, hold that to yourself. So basically, do you want to so the the Tech Pockets Network and Plug Its Lives coverage is going to start Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. to 5
Pacific
p.m.
time.
Pacific time. Excuse me.
Pacific time.
Yep. Sorry.
We
9 a.m.
we're
Pacific time.
I am being very obsessive about getting that right because most of our team is in the East Coast.
Right.
But CES is West Coast.
West Coast.
It always has been.
Mhm.
It always will be.
Right.
I mean, for the last couple decades at least.
Mhm.
So we are continuing to live in Pacific time for CES.
Right. And
the emails that go out, I even bold it so people that receive them know.
Right. So it's 9 a.m. Pacific time to 5 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 12 noon Eastern. 12 noon Eastern. So 5 p.m. 8 p.m. So yeah, right. God, I suck. So it's gonna be, we're gonna have there's gonna be a link up in the show notes. Link in the show notes. They'll go directly to CES techpodcast.com/CES 2021. Or there's a link in the show notes that I'll be publishing when we're done here. And if by listening it by now, you'll probably see it already posted. And we'll have the stream on our Facebook pages, Twitter, where else? YouTube, excuse me, our live pages on that as well. So we're gonna have, it's now the interview lengths. If folks don't know that are new to this podcast or new to techpodcast.com and the coverage, each interview is roughly about 8 minutes. And we, bring in companies from all over, from one end of the tech spectrum to the other. They talk about their product. We ask them questions on availability and what it's used for, and anything. And if there's any comments you have, let us know. What questions you have for these companies. We'll do our best to answer them. It should be a lot of fun. And I was talking to Scott earlier, before we came on the air in the past few weeks. It's going to be different because it's all virtual. Where
they won't be able to hand us a thing, which we're so used to.
Yep.
We're so used to literally like putting a product in our hand. And, and we can touch it and interact with it during the interview, and that's just not going to be the case here. So,
there's going to be no live demos. A lot of the demos were.
We don't know.
True.
Honestly, I have a feeling that we're going to see more product than usual because they don't have to bring it anywhere. They don't have to travel across the city.
That's true.
That's true. The product and things like that. I have a feeling we might actually get to see more product this year than we usually do.
Okay.
That's just a guess.
Okay.
I have nothing to base that on.
Okay.
But intuition.
Okay. I'm not gonna put any bets on this because but I'm still looking, and I was joking with Todd and Scott over the past couple of years since I came on with Geek News Central and being part of the the team. I look forward to it, and I was lamenting to Scott. We were talking about this earlier. Our Facebook pages and our memory pages, and I'm happy on the outside, but deep inside, I'm really sad. And and it's being on this team, and I expect, and I'll say this again, being a part of this independent content creators, to have folks come out, these companies to talk to us, and we're ordinary people. We're ordinary consumers.
And most of us have day jobs.
Exactly. Yep.
Kind of with Todd being the exception. And even he does it. I mean, it's in the same space, but he does have a day job too.
Right. But I love to see this stuff. When I went there my first time in 2018, see all this cool stuff, and and being on a team, meeting the PR people and meeting with, and the tech problems that were happening. And, it was like, and then then last year, being on the team as a technical director, which I had a blast covering, working in a seat, and just watching it all these people coming in and showing off different things, and and just joking about and laughing hysterically of all the interviews that was done. And I wish Marlo could come on. I really hope he does.
So he texted me last night.
Okay.
At about 10:30, and he says, if you watched the interview, you'll understand what it is that we're talking about. If you haven't, go watch, what was it, day 3 of CES 2020.
Right. Yep.
He says to me, you got any toys you want me to do an interview on this year? And I said, actually, Michelle and I were just joking about that because there absolutely is one. And I said that it would be no fun to have them on the show if you weren't doing the interview, because all the fun comes from you turning red.
Yep.
And he laughed. He says, when I die, that needs to be played at the funeral. I said, I'm on it. Anything for you, friend.
And P.S. I sent the email to that company.
To Laura DiCarlo or the new one?
Laura DiCarlo.
Okay.
I don't know about the other one, but
you mean last year?
No, I sent the email to Laura DiCarlo to come on.
For last year or this year? This
year.
Oh, you invited him back.
Yep.
Oh, I can't say what I'm going to say. I'll say it off there.
Say off there. Yeah.
Oh, that was so much fun, though.
It was.
He had no idea what he was up against. No, it couldn't have been. It couldn't have been day 3, could it? Because his sidekick was there. And I think he was only there the first 2 days.
It was probably day 2.
It had to have been day 2.
Day 2, yeah.
It sure wasn't day 1. I know that.
No,
for
it wasn't.
Fact.
It wasn't. It was day 1. No, it was day 2, either day 2 or day 3. But it is probably day 2.
I think it has to be because day 3, he had Danielle co-host with him.
Right.
He was by himself for a while, and then it was him and Danielle. I can't remember the guy's name. His sidekick from
Dave Blair.
Yeah. He was there for that interview, and I think he was only there the first 2 days. So it has to be day 2.
Day 2. Yep.
See, we can work this out.
Yep. But in all honesty, though, like I said, I know Scott's been doing this for many years, but each year, the past 2 years, I've done it. Meeting everybody, having a really good, strong connection, good relationship, friends. I like this. I like to believe, with everybody. And so this one's, this is going to be. It's going to be weird and everything. I'm still going to have fun. I'm still going to have fun regardless.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, regardless of if it's virtual or not, but next year, because I already put in my calendar for next year. I already got the dates and everything. I got
Hopefully they don't change the dates again like they did this year.
Right.
Obviously they changed the dates this year for a different reason, but
of course. Still. Right. But anyway.
So the thing that I wasn't sure I was allowed to talk about, I am.
Okay.
Because it's on Tom's guide. Okay. So that's good enough for me.
Good.
It's a mini laptop from Lenovo called the Lavie, Lavie, that has Switch style controllers that click into the side that turn it into a little gaming PC. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's pretty different.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting looking. I don't know how big it is. Based on the size of the controllers, I would say it's bigger than my Surface Duo, but probably smaller than the Surface Neo when that comes out. So what the Surface Duo is, what, a 6.8 inch per panel. But this is a regular laptop. Like, this is a Windows laptop. with a keyboard, like with a proper keyboard on it.
Hmm.
I mean, the keyboard is weird because all the keys are circles,
Mhm.
which I cannot imagine wouldn't annoy me. But
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean it's an interesting design, and we're gonna see stuff like that this year.
Right.
Because we've had engineers, we've had designers with less to do than normal.
Mhm.
And so I think we're going to see concept hardware from the big companies at a rate that is unusual. We saw Dell / Alienware show off a weird prototype gaming thing last year. We saw Razer do one a couple of years ago.
Mm.
But for somebody like Lenovo, who's not really known in the gaming space,
No, they
right,
weren't.
to do something like this,
Mhm.
I think we've got designers with less to do than normal that are messing around
Mhm.
and coming up with bizarre ideas.
Mhm.
And this is a bizarre idea that
Yeah.
I absolutely love.
Yeah. I never even thought of that. So you said it.
Oh, I see a size. It is an 8-inch touch display at 1900 by 1200 resolution.
Okay. So how does that work as far as a gaming, like how would that on this, you said it was on the sides where it connects?
Yeah,
How
so
does
like
that?
a switch. The controllers must snap
Okay.
into the side.
Okay. 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 I just
Yeah.
didn't quite get the.
So it's like Joy-Cons.
Okay.
It
I
is
got
so
it.
small it doesn't have a trackpad. But it does seem to have maybe a fingerprint reader between the left and right clicks. But if it doesn't, oh no, you know what that is? That's an altered eraser head, I bet. Similar to the Blackberries that got rid of the ball and had the little finger track in the middle.
Yeah.
I bet it's something
Okay.
like that.
Huh.
But it's a full Windows machine with a dedicated Xbox key on it. I hadn't noticed that until just now.
Mhm.
Up F9 has an Xbox logo on it. So they're definitely going to be marketing this to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, I bet.
Okay.
Because this would be good for older games. It's an 11th gen Core i7 processor.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Iris Xe graphics, so I mean it's decent graphics, modern processor. This is gonna be a fun little computer. I'm gonna have to try and talk them out of one of them.
Yeah,
and it's got a little dock that you can stick it into that makes it look like an Echo Show.
Interesting.
It is so weird, and I love it.
Hey, I mean, if they really want to, bring out 2021 with a bang, I mean, that's something different. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. And like I said, I don't think this is all we're going to see. I think we're going to see other companies doing weird stuff. And I love experimental CES years. Yeah. They are my favorite.
The mad
incremental years are no fun.
The mad scientist, you mentioned, mad scientist stage.
Yeah. I like it and I don't know why it's like this, but some CES years is very incremental, where you don't see anything where you're like, wow, what is that?
Right.
And then some years it's all you see. And it doesn't seem like there's a middle ground on it. It seems to be all or nothing. You either have a lot of really unique, weird ideas, or you have none. But I'm hoping this is going to be an all. I hope we're going to see lots of it.
And I think when again, I'm like, this is my 2 years, well, it'll be 3, but when we went there at LBCC and looking at the booths. Now, for the folks who have watched, I took some pictures on a live blog, and I wish there was a live blog, but unfortunately there's not. There's gonna be this year, but on a live blog, I was posting photos and video from when I was at Samsung, and Samsung's booth. I mean, it wasn't a booth. I mean, it was like a mile long, like floor. I mean, it was like they called it a city, and it was literally like how they had this long wall of TVs that was like from one end of the room. It had to be a good quarter of a mile of TVs all the way down to the end. And when you walk through LVCC, through Central Hall and North Hall, I mean, I was in Central Hall for like good until my unfortunate accident. But while the time I was there, I mean, that Samsung took Central Hall at least a good 3/4 Central Hall with their literally their city. It was incredible, and to see like how they had this one display where it looked like the foldable leaves. It was gorgeous. I mean, it was just like seeing like all these different displays, but they really created something that was unique. Each year from what I saw before I came going to CES over the past year before, and the displays and their booths are like put so much time and effort in it. It's like millions of dollars. We're not talking like cheap stuff. We're talking millions of dollars of displays and products. They want to top themselves more and more each and every year. And from what I've seen, it was like beyond amazing.
Yeah, I was told a number of years ago when Microsoft was still exhibiting that Microsoft's booth, just the physical booth itself, cost like $6 or $7 million. But granted, it's 2-story. So, right. I mean, it's hard to compare that to anybody else because it was basically just them and Intel that had 2-story booths. But, and now neither of them have a booth at all, which is so weird. But yeah, I am looking down our schedule, and I've got to tell you, we've got some really interesting stuff.
Cool.
Coming up. I did it earlier, and I'll do it again now because this company, Nui, is actually starting the show off with us on Tuesday at 9:10.
Cool.
So they'll be our first interview. They do like IoT home security stuff. This is a camera. I'm going to do an unboxing when we have a gap in our schedule. But this is a camera that has a 360 rotating lens, so you can actually turn it remotely to look at different parts of your house or your office or whatever. It's pretty cool. There's a company that has made a new like air drive that has allowed them to make a little like portable mini blender, which is weird and wonderful. Our friends from Trova are back. Obviously, we can't do CES without Benji Lock.
Right.
They'll be on the show. Monster is going to be on the show again. And a shout out again to Monster. They are powering the new studio here, which is pretty exciting.
Nice.
There's a cooking robot. I cannot wait to find out what that means. Cyberlink. Yes, that Cyberlink. Anybody who knows tech knows Cyberlink. They've got a product called Face Me that allows for like face tracking, which is they were on the show last year. We'll get to see how that has changed. GoSun, which is an outdoor cooking company. My personal vote for best name is Black Nut. It's a streaming gaming platform.
Okay, it's not what I'm going down the.
Oh, I know. Oh, I sent that name and that link to everybody I know. But yeah, it's like Microsoft xCloud, Project xCloud.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. Let's see. Go. Biohacking Orb. I cannot wait for this one. This, from what I can tell, is those like big, full immersive gaming chairs, or like a tanning bed. Imagine that, but something health related. I saw the picture and I'm like, I have no idea what this is, but they've got to be on the show.
Right.
Package protector, Orcam, the Wi-Fi Alliance is going to be on.
Cool.
So we'll get to hear what's coming in the future of Wi-Fi 6, which obviously everybody who's a regular listener or viewer of this show knows, my journey to re-outfit the office and the studio with Wi-Fi 6. Yep. There's a company that's making VR travel stuff, which is pretty cool, especially right now. Jennifer will be back talking about Energizer Connect, which is another one of their brands that they work with, which is obviously mobile products. Gary will be back with Heart Hero, which I believe is either certified or close to certified for US use, which is the portable defibrillator, which I love that product, and Gary is fun to follow on LinkedIn. And there's RoboSense. I don't remember what RoboSense was, but I remember it being really interesting. LiDAR sensor systems for robotics and autonomous cars. So, I mean, if you can't tell, we've got a very diverse lineup of stuff.
Always diverse, right?
From LiDAR sensors to mobile accessories, and honest to God, everything in between.
Literally,
I'm really excited about this year. We always try to make it diverse, weird and diverse, because the more diverse it is, the more likely we'll be able to stumble upon something that becomes a thing, right? That like you can find out about before it becomes a thing. Right. BenjiLock is always my go-to answer, but we did at Collision in 2015. We talked to a little company that nobody had ever heard of called PetCube, but now you can't watch daytime TV without seeing commercials for it.
Right.
So, we try to introduce our viewers to these little companies that are unknown before they become known.
Right.
Because you never know.
Well, that's why I always tell people I know, the average consumer. I mean, because we're in it because we're balls in and we love it and it's great. But there's a lot of people that don't know about certain products and what's available to them and the availability. Some of the products that Marlo had, the one called Smart Sensor, I can't remember the name of it, where it had something to do with it was an app where it had something to do with, I can't remember exactly what it was. I can't remember, Smart something. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was an app
from last year.
From last year, yeah.
I'll go look at the rundown.
It was because he came on right after, before you did, the last guest. His name was Kenny. I remember that. It was, I can't remember what his name was, but the name of the company, it was Smart something. But his booth was right behind our,
was it Silent Beacon?
That's it, Silent Beacon. And it was an interesting product. And it was
wireless panic button device that delivers safety in seconds with the press of a button.
That's it.
The Bluetooth safety wearable utilizes its patented technology to instantly notify your network of an emergency.
Yep, that was it. Like, why is this person? So it was it was like, and a lot of things like, again, Wonder Painter won, top pick. It was like it was just an app, and something out of the ordinary. So there's a lot of products that were there, and there's people that came that like the one lady from that had about the hearing aids, and how she had hearing loss for like years, and they took a product and something and made it beneficial for not only for her but others. So so my whole thing is that when these product when they come to our studio, and in interviews, I'm fascinated with the stuff that's out there, and people, again, a lot of people don't know about these products. Some do, some don't. So that's why it's good to have that mix of products, the well known, but also the not as known as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's nice. Last year we had Dell, and we also had a company talking about diaper monitors.
Yep.
So,
yep.
You never know what you're going to get with our show.
Exactly. So
and sometimes we don't either.
Exactly. And sometimes
this one will be a little different because people won't just walk up to the studio and be like, "Hey, what's going on here? Can I have an interview?" Which is always my favorite. It's like, I don't know. Who are you?
Especially the one where Marlo, this is another example that was funny. Marlo and Dave were doing an interview with a gentleman, and this guy comes into the shot.
Oh, the guy that just walked up the stairs.
Yep.
And jumped in the shot.
Yep. And I'm looking, I was technical director, and I was trying to I heard Scott out of it go, sir, and he turned, and I had to switch cameras. And he goes, I didn't know. And I'm like, and Scott said, don't you know that we're live and we're
can't you see the cameras and the lights and the people sitting at the table?
Right.
With broadcast headsets on?
Right.
I'm going to, I have considered pulling the headset out for next week, just because I'm going to feel weird without it.
Right.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to use these earbuds and my wonderful microphone, which also, by the way, both of these are because of introductions from CES.
Yep. So
it is actually amazing when I look around, just like on a regular day, because there's nothing special. I mean, other than the fact that we just rebuilt in here, there's nothing particularly special about today versus any other day in the studio. Right. And I'm looking at a camera that we bought because of our relationship with the company. I'm looking at my microphone, my earbuds, my backup mic, the camera that we're going to do an unboxing on, other earbuds. So much of it is all CES related stuff. And it's so funny, what an impact it has on us. It's why we make such a big deal about it, because it really does on a normal year. This year's going to be a little weird, but on a normal year, it really does have a huge impact on us.
Absolutely.
Even the year that the Plug Hits team wasn't able to physically go. I mean, there was an incident that was almost a negative impact on us, but we ran all the social stuff from here, and being able to save the live broadcast was wonderful. It just such a big impact on our lives all the time.
Yeah. And I think also for me, again, this is my third CES, for me, meeting with Todd, because because when I applied, because when Todd needed help for his, for Geek News Central as a well, now I'm executive producer, but just to reach out to him, and I said I was interested in helping out, and and I was I was explaining about love to go to CES and just and learn from him as a production standpoint, and I just to have that connection, with being a part of something, and to this day, those connections. I even spent, I met some people from Twit that year, and then when we all left, I was, and I'm next year, I'm more and more, I'm gonna have to get out of my shell, because I saw some people from Twit, and I was kind of timid, I was like, but Scott, you mentioned, I should have talked. It's like,
absolutely. Yeah.
So
I mean,
out of my shell.
I have had a conversation with Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft. Why? Because I saw him standing there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I just went up to him and started talking.
Mm-hmm.
Super personable, by the way.
Yeah.
Not the big bombastic developers, crazy guy that he presents on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Really personable. And Larry Herb, Xbox Live's Major Nelson. He was another one that was fun. It's so funny. I didn't like get any kind of starstruck going up and talking to Steve Ballmer, but Larry Herb definitely did.
I bet.
It's so funny. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. If you're an Xbox user, everybody knows Major Nelson. If you're not, nobody has any idea who this guy is. Everybody knows Steve Ballmer. I didn't care.
Yep.
Didn't care at all. But Larry Herb, we were like, I don't know if we should go up and talk to him. It was funny. He was it was after the Microsoft press conference that year. And he had been live tweeting it. And when that was still a popular thing. And he told us, he's like, people were really mad at me for my live tweeting because I didn't know that the live stream was like 90 seconds delayed. And so I'm live tweeting from the room things that the people who are watching my Twitter aren't hearing about for another minute and a half. So I was spoiling the show for them.
Oh, jeez.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah. But it's the connection that's what I treasure, and I think, especially having this podcast with you, Scott, and learning, and I'm again, to be on TD for the last year was, it was so much fun. I look forward to it this year being TD, in the morning, so I can go explore, and hopefully I won't injure myself.
Yes, please do not injure yourself again.
Right.
Especially since you're just staying in your house.
Right. Right. No, I'm gonna be in this here. I'll be good. Knock on wood. So anyway, all right. So Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, until Thursday, and we'll probably Friday. Maybe we'll have a wrap up everything. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. So tomorrow, no, what's today? Today's Friday. So Friday, Sunday night, 9 p.m. F5 Live. We always do a CES pre-show before CES starts, and we're gonna have members of the team on the show. Obviously, Kirk, you're welcome to come participate. Sure. It won't. So it'll be myself and Avram, and hopefully Chris Jordan, Michelle, hopefully Danielle, Kirk, and we'll talk about we're excited about for the year. So sounds good. I'll definitely.
And hopefully by then our schedule will be more full than it is right now.
Right.
Because I am having heart problems looking at this graph.
Oh, well, like I said, when we get off, I was talking to Scott earlier before we came on. Because when we get emails from different companies, they want to announce their product or want to come to their quote unquote booth to see their product. So I've been touring through, looking through all the emails and trying to get people to come on. So I'm going to try to do a little bit. We get done from our show tonight. And so we'll see. All right. So again, so just tune in to all of our pages. Again, there's going to be a link up in the show notes if it's not listening to us tomorrow, which will be Saturday. It'll be posted in the show notes, the link for techpodcast.com/CES 2021. All right. In other news this week, in Amazon news, Amazon says it'll provide over $2 billion to build and preserve 20,000 affordable homes in 3 of its key employment areas: the Seattle region, Nashville, Tennessee, and Arlington, Virginia. The Housing Equity Fund will offer below market capital and low cost loans, lines of credit, and grants to support families making between 30 and 80% of the median income in each area. The fund will also give $125 million in grants to public agencies and minority-led organizations to boost inclusive, affordable housing solutions. So good on them. Other Amazon news: Amazon Prime Pantry, and I had no idea this existed. This is their I didn't. This is their early foray into grocery delivery. It is now dead. Amazon launched Prime Pantry for household items and non-perishable food and snacks back in 2014, giving customers a way to stock up on the heavy items they need for their homes they usually don't ship for free. It's good. It's gone for good as of Wednesday. A spokesperson told Bloomberg that the thousands of products previously available under the Pantry banner have been folded into Amazon's main retail site. When Pantry first launched, it allowed Prime members to ship up to 45 pounds, worth of household essentials in one large box for a $6 flat fee on top of their subscription.
It was such a pain because, like, you had to pack the box like in your head, right? You'd be like, well, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and it'd tell you what your weight was. And then I want this, and I want this. Oh, I can't have all of it because it's a little over. But then you had to go, oh, such a pain.
I didn't even know that. Again, I didn't know it existed. All right, so that's, I guess we've been going for 6 years.
So one of the problems that it suffered from was brand confusion. Mm-hmm. After Amazon Fresh came about, people didn't understand the difference between Amazon Fresh, Prime Pantry,
right.
And then, now with the Whole Foods acquisition, there's all this confusion over what is what, what's being shipped, what's coming from Whole Foods, what. I don't think that the need for a special brand for Pantry mattered anymore because they're not shipping USPS, they're not shipping FedEx anymore. Mm-hmm. It's almost entirely done by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the shipping weight costs and things like that simply don't exist anymore.
Right.
So it didn't make sense today. I'm surprised that it's still around. I actually thought it was already gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even know. I didn't know it existed, and that's to buy things in, I guess 45 pounds. Holy crap! So the spokesperson from Amazon said in a statement, "quote As part of our commitment to delivering the best possible customer experience, we have decided to transfer Amazon Pantry selection to the main Amazon.com store so customers can get everyday household products faster without an extra subscription on purchase requirement." So good on them. Okay. In Verizon isn't other news. Verizon isn't shutting down its 3G network anytime soon. Kevin King, the spokesperson for Verizon, tells Light Reading that Verizon's quote 3G network is operational and doesn't have a plan to shut it down this time. He also added the company will quote work with customers to move them to newer technology, and King has confirmed this report accuracy to Engadget. Verizon taking steps toward shutting down its 3G network for years, starting way back in 2012 when it deployed 4G LTE. A few years later, it announced its plans to deactivate the network by December 2019, but later pushed back the date back to 2020. So right now, it's still on. Verizon stopped activating 3G phones in 2018, quote, to facilitate a smooth transition to LTE capable products and services. It said at the time that, quote, virtually all traffic on its network is on its 4G LTE network anyway. Light Reading noted, it didn't reveal how many subscribers still have 3G devices, and I know one of them, my mom.
That's funny.
And I'm still trying to get her to something in the God bless my mom. I'm not throwing her on a bus or anything, but so I tried, but she's happy with her phone. So, all right. Speaking of phones, Motorola has released 4 new phones, $170 to $400, to reinforce its position in the mid-range and affordable market. 3 of them are in the quote Moto G series. It's a core offering from Motorola, while the 4th one is the Motorola 5G Ace. The Moto G series revolves around 3 themes to address the bulk of the market's needs and wants in the sub $400 market. Maximum affordability. Moto G's play $170. Long battery life. The Moto G Power $200, and a productivity and performance Moto G Stylus $300. Now, with the Moto G Play, it features a selfie camera with a notch, unlike the G Power and G Stylus with punch hole cameras that are edgier. There's the Moto G Stylus 6.8-inch screen, which is a substantial increase over last year's Stylus 6.4-inch model. The phones are powered by increasingly powerful Qualcomm processors with the Snapdragon 460, 662, and 768. The processor choice ensures a smooth scaling of performance and capabilities as your budget increases. For example, the Snapdragon 768 platform can run advanced 3D games considerably faster than Snapdragon 460. With the Motorola One 5G Ace, this smartphone has been designed to maximize Motorola's chances to gain market share in the 5G handset market.
Yeah.
It's powered by, which I believe, powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 750 5G with 4 gig to 6 gig RAM, depending on market, and 64 to 128 gigabytes of storage. It also has a camera setup with a relatively healthy primary camera. This is from primary camera, 48 megapixels, f-stop 1.7, backed by secondary ultra wide and macro cameras. To maximize the selfie's potential, there is a dedicated bokeh sensor in addition to the 16 megapixel selfie camera module. So Motorola has been pretty good over the past few years with their phones, and
since they became part of Lenovo.
Exactly, yeah. Which I was pleasantly surprised. I thought, once Google didn't want them anymore, I was thinking, OMG, I'm praying for Motorola to, break out and do well.
Lenovo was a good home for them.
Mm-hmm.
Lenovo used to have Lenovo branded, for a very short while, they tried to do Lenovo branded phones here. It never took off in the same way that the Dell branded phones never took off here either. But they've been relatively successful overseas. So it made sense for them to continue essentially to produce Lenovo phones, but put them in a brand that the West recognized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was a pretty smart pairing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I've been using Motorola phones. I had Motorola phones over the past few years until I went to the Pixel, and I'm kind of like, I'm kind of like debating on going. I had Motorola phones for many years, so I'm kind of debating because I'm on Pixel now, and I'm like, I don't know, because with Verizon's bloatware on it, and and you don't get the OS updates, as on time, so I'm kind of debating on it, but they do look promising.
Has always been Verizon's problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just I understand they're making sure everything is, they want to make you have their butts covered and everything like that, but also in the same token, it's that's fine, but OMG, they have the bloatware. It is incessantly. I have to literally go in and just clean everything out, and it's
that was one of my favorite things about Windows Phone.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the operating system didn't allow for the installation of locked software.
Right.
So, and of course, with Apple, there's lots of bloatware, but it's all from Apple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Android devices are a mess when it comes to that stuff, and being able to lock the software on there so that my AT&T Galaxy S10, let's say, I don't know what it is, has some sports thing that runs in the background that I've never opened.
Right.
Abram taught me how to tell it to stop running in the background at least, but it's still in my app list, and that drives me crazy. I don't want it there. Just because AT&T owns the service does not mean that I want it on my device. And Verizon's been the same way. Sprint's been the same way. T-Mobile's been the same way. They've all done it.
Right. Yep. All right. Okay. So next up, and speaking of Roku, we talked about it earlier. Roku says its Roku TV line, was the top-selling TV OS in the U.S. and Canada throughout all of 2020. This is using using NPD data to illustrate the company's powerful standing. The company said in a press release, Roku TV held 38% of market share in the U.S. and 31% in Canada, based on available data from January 5th through December 26, 2020. Maintaining the lead spot in both regions. Speaking of CES, they're also using CES 2021 to announce the partners for its Roku TV Ready initiative. It will soon be able to release wireless soundbars for Roku TV sets. Roku has a new reference design for the wireless soundbar, which connects to Roku TVs over Wi-Fi. Customers won't have to worry about any lip sync problems, as I'm trying to read this, as latency is communicated between hardware devices to ensure proper AV synchronization. Roku essentially picks the brains and processing for the reference design, but leaves other choices like enclosure design and the driver speakers /speakers used to manufacturers. You'll be able to quickly set up and adjust settings on these wireless soundbars right from the Roku TV's settings menu.
Yeah, and that's that the reference concept is a pretty standard one. Ultrabooks, for example, if you've ever purchased an Ultrabook that's based on a reference design from Intel. And to use the Ultrabook name, it has to be based on that reference. But you've got screens, you've got keyboards and trackpads, and all the important things are adjustable. But it has to be within a certain size. It has to communicate with certain things properly. It has to support. Originally it had to support USB 3 or whatever. And this is the same thing, and it ensures your experience, especially when you're trying to do Roku to Roku, right? So you've got a Roku TV and then a Roku enabled soundbar. Your setup is quick, your usage is consistent, and you can actually get help on it. It's the thing that made Sony a company originally. If it hadn't been for them forcing their stuff to talk to each other, so nobody would have ever used Sony products. Once you got in, you couldn't get out.
Right.
Oh, you want to use digital coaxial between your DVD player and your surround sound system? Oh, ours doesn't use regular signals. They've both got to be Sony.
Oh, want.
Otherwise, you've got to use fiber optic.
Or want. All right, and finally, there's no finally segment because again I couldn't find anything.
And we have a whole week of and finally of all kinds of weird stuff coming up.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm gonna do, and I make this promise now. If we have a Friday show podcast, because I know we're gonna be worn out. We're always worn out after a week, but if there is one, I'm going to compile a list of them. I will, and I'm going to be, I'm in the morning block. I'm going to keep an eye on them, and some of them. So I'm definitely going to do that. All right, but other than that, no, there's some cool things that we can with. Let me go back to my screen here. All right, so do you need help with your tech with this week over on makeuseit.com? 4 types of essential software every young student must have. So there's the Office software, Microsoft 365 Online, Google Drive, LibreOffice. I never heard of them.
LibreOffice is one of the open source products.
Okay, thank you. See, learn something new.
Them and Open Office, although they might be the same organization now. I don't remember.
I don't know. Again, that's new to me. Number 2, PDF software, Adobe Acrobat, Foxit Phantom PDF, Microsoft Word, password managers.
Which, if you've gone with Office, you've already got. So that combines
Right.
2 into 1.
Exactly. Number 3, password managers, which we recommend on this show and elsewhere. Always get a password manager. There's Bitwarden, 1Password. Number 4, security software. That's another thing that's important to know. There's Norton 360 Deluxe, Bitdefender, Total Security, and that's it. Okay.
And remember, if you are looking for software for students, remember that a lot of the proper companies offer free versions, free versions or significantly discounted versions for students.
Yep.
Through your school, or like Microsoft offers 10% off of everything for students, which is pretty cool. But they've got special deals on things like Office. So
yep, definitely want to check it out. And lastly, over on makeuse.com, 10 mobile apps that teach beginners how to cook. And believe me, my wife does all the cooking, and I would like to learn because I will burn something really, really quick. There's I have no idea why these pages are not loading.
They're not loading for me right away either. They're taking forever.
Huh. Okay.
I personally recommend the second one.
Tasty. Yummy.
I recommend Yumly.
Okay.
I interviewed them 2 years ago at CES. Chef Carla Hall, who, if you are you familiar at all with TV cooks, you probably know Chef Hall. She is one of the Yumly pros. She actually walks you through how to make Southern staples, which is really cool. And she's not the only Yumly pro. There's lots of them, which is a really cool thing. And then the Yumly app can actually connect to the connected KitchenAid appliances. So whatever the other one is, Whirlpool, they're the same company, right?
Yep.
It can connect to the connected appliances, and like if there's a recipe that is supposed to be at 425 for 30 minutes and then at 350 for an hour, it'll change your temperature for you.
Okay.
Based on the recipe. Super cool. I'm really impressed with Yumly.
Okay.
If you can't, it's the only, I saw it and I'm like, whoop, I'm starting there. I know a lot about that one. Very happy with it.
All right. Well, I'm going to definitely, on your recommendation, I'm going to give it a shot. All right. There's kitchen store recipes. Now, if you're watching live on the video, if you folks are watching the video, for audio listeners, where the pages are not loading to see the graphics and everything, so it's a bummer. So if you're listening, you don't have to worry about it. There is okay, and okay. So now the
Number 5 is Epicurious, which is the most viewed recipe site on the planet. So that's a good look. It's the most popular in the world. I don't know Meal Lime, but I love their logo. I know you guys, you can't see it, but I can.
Okay.
It almost looks like a logo for a bank, which makes it weird, and I love it.
All right. Oh, She Glows.
That's a weird name.
Big Oven.
Sure.
Okay.
That sounds like the kind of place where you're going to find recipes for
things
families.
that are right. And also going into a big oven.
Yeah. So probably not a whole lot of one skillet meals.
Right.
You know, that sounds like the kind of place where you're going to find family stuff. Yeah,
Exactly.
Pinterest. I
Pinterest
guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And lastly, Paprika Recipe Manager 3. What happened to 2 and 1?
Yeah. I'm going to throw two items in here that aren't on the list.
Go ahead.
The first we talked about on our last show, which turned out to be Bing recipes. Had no idea that they had expanded that so much, right? Where you can just search for something, it'll bring up actual recipes with photos. That was a pretty cool thing. Thank you, Kirk, for adding that to the show a couple of weeks ago. I have absolutely been exploring with that. I have not made that pork dish yet. Because CES has owned my life. I did make a prime rib for Christmas Eve though.
Nice.
And the other is all recipes.
Okay, I know about all recipes.
All recipes is my go-to. That's where I got my prime rib recipe.
Cool.
So those are the two I'm going to add to the list.
Cool.
Since they've got this Paprika recipe manager, which isn't really a learn how to cook so much as a recipe place, I'll throw those two in there.
And there you go. There you go. So I definitely add them in. Definitely, this is why, again, you're my yin to my yang. All right, very good. All right, cool. All right, so that is the tech news for this week for Friday, January 8th, 2021. Again, a little bit light news. This week. So hopefully.
That's because you won't be able to get rid of us next week.
Exactly. So thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Show notes from this episode can be found at gncweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary from geeknewscentral.com, and be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at geeknewscentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to tune in. Hopefully, we will have a show Friday evenings, normally Friday evenings. This Friday, which is Friday the 16th, the 15th, excuse me. There might be a show on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time at GNCweeklyLive.com. If not, we're not going to be here. Have a show on Friday evening. Next Friday evening, we'll be back normal the following week, which will be Friday, January 22nd. So if we're not on Friday evening on the 15th, definitely on 22nd. So be sure to like and subscribe to the GNCWIR channel on YouTube. Please make sure to click on the bell and select always for notifications so you'll not miss next episode. Also, we would love for you to share this episode to people that you know. They can check it out, this podcast as well. Also, please be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app. And be sure to tune in with Scott and Adrian Pilch on F5 Technology Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at f5live.tv/join us. I will definitely be on the Sunday's episode with the pre-show. So definitely come on over there and we'll have a lot of fun. You have a comment on this week's episode. We love to hear them. Head on over to gncweekly.com/connect and connect either via email, Twitter, or Facebook. I am on Twitter. I am at Kirk Corliss. Scott is on Twitter at TTMABO. Till the next episode of the GNC Week in Review. So long.